أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من شر الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين. Inshallah, we're going to take lesson 5, Ilm al-Rijal. And today, basically, we are almost done with Ilm al-Rijal. A few things will be left for next week, and then the week after we'll do the practice on exercises. So we'll give you a hadith and we'll check the sanad and the link of the hadith. Let me see this brother. Okay, so basically we have in this. So in Ilm al-Rijal, we said we studied two things: Sughra and Kubra. So we studied the Sughra. That means we studied the encyclopedias. We discussed about the Ghadairi, the book of Ghadairi. We discussed about the book of Sayyid al-Khou'i, and we took some examples. So those were like index, and that's not that much study. It's just to understand those books. You need to know whether they are in the sequence of timeline or they were alphabetical order, and who are these scholars? Are they from the previous ones or from the later ones? All these information you needed to know. So that was not that much. The main principles of Ilm al-Rijal is now. We are starting from today. So the rules of evaluation and the rules of conflict, these are the two types of rules. So how can we evaluate whenever we have a doubtful narrator? How can we evaluate that doubtful narrator? What are the principles? What are the rules? What are the kubra we will apply on a narrator in order to be able to define his authenticity or his being trustworthy? So this is something which we are going to do. And then the other section is of principles is when people, they have these two rijalis. One rijali says A, another rijali says B. How will we solve the conflict? So another section is resolving the conflicts. If there's conflicts between the two ulama al-rijal, how can we resolve the conflict between the two ulama al-rijal? So basically this is what left from this course. However, the practical applications of this course, they go to Bahth Kharij. So Sheikh Baqi al-Ayrawani, may Allah protect him, he is one of the giants of Hawza Ayatullah, he's student of Sayyidi Sistani. He gives Ilm al-Rijal classes on a higher level, post these 10 years of Hawza. So when you want to become ijtihad. And then there is another also, Sheikh Ali Daqqaq, he has also his Rijal classes. Nowadays, alhamdulillah, all our ulamas of Hawza, they give Rijal classes on Telegram, you will find it. MashaAllah, there's a lot of treasure on Telegram. So I don't know if they prefer using Telegram or WhatsApp, but but I don't want to shackle myself with too many things. So I don't want to go Twitter, LinkedIn, all these this Facebook and YouTube and WhatsApp is too much for me. So I can't stretch myself in this. But the people, they can manage, mashallah, they can have this kind of Telegram and WhatsApp and those kind of things of so many places. So anyhow, so you will find these principles on a higher level on Telegram of Sheikh Baqi al-Ayrawani. Sayyid Ahmed al-Madadi, he's also one of the top students of Sayyidi Sistani, Sayyid al-Khou'i, Qudus al-Sirra. He is also giving Ilm al-Rijal on a higher level, Bahth Kharij level. So this Ilm al-Rijal, I'm giving you very basic introductory level, but when you start applying these Ilm al-Rijal, you started seeing the differences between, I've given you theories of Sayyid al-Khou'i and the concepts of Sayyid al-Khou'i because they are the most strongest in normal cases. But there are some cases where people, they have rejected some of the concepts of Sayyid al-Khou'i. So those are discussed on a higher level because arguments of Sayyid al-Khou'i were very deep. So it requires deep level researches to discuss those for the Hausa students. So basically, I'm just going to mention that Sayyid al-Khou'i, what is the opinion of Sayyid al-Khou'i? There's an ikhtilaf. Some scholars says this, some scholars said that. And what did Sayyid al-Khou'i say? So this is what's going to be in Rejaal in this short course. But then the higher course, then we have this these greater scholars of Rejaal after Sayyid al-Khou'i, who started rebutting some of the theories of Sayyid al-Khou'i. So as you know that the knowledge is about all about development. It's not Sayyid al-Khou'i had a revelation. No. Yes, he was the most challenging giant scholar that nobody could defeat him. But that doesn't mean that after him, nobody would be able to defeat his theories and bring stronger arguments. No, because before Sayyid al-Khou'i, there were amazing giants also, whom Sayyid al-Khou'i rebutted them. And they thought that, wow, these are nobody could defeat Ziauddin al-Iraqi, or nobody could defeat Khund al-Khurasani or Sheikh Murtada al-Ansari. But then there are people, great scholars came after him. After them, they were able to pinpoint the weakness of their arguments. So this is how it works, that you try to find out weakness in the arguments and try to present a stronger argument. Look how much depth these great scholars there, how much logic they are using. And so it gives us satisfaction to do taqleed to them. Because, you know, like the Hausa students, they know, but the ignorant people, they will not know why should we do taqleed. It is too much deep logical argument. Those arguments, like as I mentioned, usually when I'm sitting when I used to sit in the Halaq al-Thalith of Shaykh Muhammad Baqir al-Sadr, the final level of Rasul, I used to have this kind of
Assalamu alaikum, sir. Volume nahi hai aapke.
Yeah, so this kind of sensation that
Assalamu alaikum, sir. Aapki awaaz nahi aa rahi.
You need to fix from your side because other students can hear. You need to check your microphone system. I mean, she can't hear me, so Sheikh Maitham, can you type her? Can you chat with her and tell her to fix it from her end because she can't hear me?
Inshallah.
So no use for me explaining.
Okay, inshallah.
Thank you. So basically, what happens that like in the Bahth Kharij level, if you see the Ilm al-Rijal and these kind of things, you feel like those, you know, sumo wrestlers, those giants, you know, like one, and the guy falls and earth shakes, and like, so you will feel like this giant Sayyid al-Khou'i rebutting Ziauddin al-Iraqi rebutting with those so strong logical arguments. Oh my goodness. I mean, you will feel that if you feel that grrr sound, it's not your stomach gurgurating, you know, that you have eaten some hummus or something like that food. No, it is your brain trying to grind stones, that kind of level I'm talking. Too much logic is used. It's not philosophical arguments, more logical arguments, like logic after logic, rebutting, using logical principles. Because always, whenever you use logic, there must be some gap, okay, a scholar misses. But people, they don't understand. Regular students, they don't understand. But a giant like that giant can pinpoint, oh, there is this weak point of logical argument. This is not logical. This does not apply logical concepts. It's not an application of law. So there he picks and then he puts another logical concept. But there might be other places he might have left gap for another scholar to come and rebuttal. So this is how the knowledge develops, and this is how our Hausa knowledge has been developing in the school of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam from the time of Sheikh al-Tusi, rahmatullah alayhi Quddus sirru, when the Hausa had gone flourished, so expanded and so deep, like the depth knowledge of Sayyid al-Khou'i, say Sheikh al-Tusi till Sayyid al-Khou'i, and after Sayyid al-Khou'i, there are some students of Sayyid al-Khou'i who are in that level, but until now we don't have any testimonies saying that somebody has reached the level of Sayyid al-Khou'i or is more knowledgeable. There are a few testimonies. They say that Sayyid Sistani, it's a probability he could be more knowledgeable than Sayyid al-Khou'i, or at least equal to Sayyid al-Khou'i. but definitive testimonies, we don't have it. So that Sayyid al-Khouy was a giant, a historical giant we had in the Hawza, and there is no question about it. Even Qom Hawza testifies, even Sayyid al-Khamenei, I heard when Sayyid al-Khouy died, rahmatullah alayh, I heard his great testimony about Sayyid al-Khouy, Quddisa Sirruh. So even the Hawza of Qom and the Islamic Republic scholars in the Hawza, they also have great respect for Sayyid al-Khouy and his knowledge, because it's a challenging, he was in a challenging position. So that is why we just try to see the thoughts of Sayyid al-Khouy as Dr. Abdul Hadi al-Fadli has presented it in his book of Ilm al-Rijal, rahmatullah alayhi, Sheikh Abdul Hadi al-Fadli. He was also a student of Sayyid al-Khouy. So he summarized the concept of Sayyid al-Khouй's Rijal in a very basic level, in a way that people can understand it on a muqaddimat level. So what are these principles which we are going to study today? We studied with the Sughras, now we are going to study the Kubra. The evaluation of the trusted non-imamis. As you know, when we took the course of Ilm al-Hadith, there are hadith narrated by non-imamis. Our great scholars, they took it into consideration. You see, so they took it into consideration because they were trusted, and their methodology was the methodology of imami. But there were some people, some scholars, they say, no, we don't take. Some scholars say, take. So there's always a discussion and a debate and a argument between the scholars of Rejaal in certain principles. And that's the beauty of the knowledge. You see, that we don't take the knowledge of the mujtahid as a revelation. Yes, we take it as a most qualified person. So if another less qualified person will tell me something, I'll say, please first become most qualified and then present your arguments, not to us, to the Hawza. What happens, one of the mistakes some of the ulamas, they do, they challenge Sayyid Sistani, but in front of the lay people. Now, lay people, they don't know anything about the ilm al-usul, about the logical arguments, about the depth. What they see, say, this is Fulan Marja says, and this say this is that. This makes sense. Now, what do you know about sense and nonsense? Okay, because you don't have the background. If some doctor gives you a medicine, another doctor gives you another medicine. Oh, this doctor is great because he gave me a nice medicine. But how will you know? You have not studied medicine. You can't define whose medicine is much better than another. So lay people, when people like some of the doctors or some of the Maraja, some of the Mujtahidin, they start presenting their arguments against the top Maraja in Qom and Najaf, in lay people, these people, they are fooling the people. And many people who believe in this foolish situation are foolish as well. Because this is not how the knowledge works. In any area, where you go into the medical field, will you be allowed to sit in a PhD session where you have not even studied your high school, or will you be allowed to give a place in PhD and you have not studied high school? Don't tell me there's an university in India, All India University or All People University. I'm talking about the accredited universities. They want step by step. They will not allow you to sit in do a PhD thesis and you have not done the master's, or you have not done there might be a few exceptional cases, but in normal, no, you have to go step by step in an educational system. So therefore, the evaluation of this is one principle. So if we don't know, in the narrator, someone is a non-imami, should we take his narration or not? So then we will see the rule, what does it talk about? Weak ones in the book of Du'afa. Book of Du'afa, if I don't know, this person is not available in the books of Rijalis, but it is available in the Kitab of Du'afa of Ibn al-Ghadairi. Should I rely on Ibn al-Ghadair and reject the hadith of this narrator who is a weak in the... We say we don't know. I mean, we say Al-Khouy rejected the book of Du'afa. Those who said Kitab of Du'afa is okay, they will consider the Rawi a weak Rawi. Thus, they will reject their hadith. But those who do not consider Kitab of Du'afa for Ibn al-Ghadairi, the great scholar, as we did last week, then they will not rely on the Du'afa, and they will find another ways to see, another principles to see how is that scholar. the principle of the rule of adalat. We have this is similar to every innocent every person is innocent until proven to be guilty. Not like many countries, every Muslim is terrorist until proven to be innocent. That's opposite. No, every Muslim is innocent until you prove that he's a terrorist. So every guilty is innocent until you prove that he is guilty. Okay, so prove it. So this is alatul adala. So every narrator is considered just unless if it's proven that he is not just. He has been defamed. He has been his defects have been found out, that he's not a reliable narrator. So that we are going to discuss about isalatul adala, evaluation of the mutaqaddimin and mutaakhirin. So we find a narrator, and he is being praised by one of those who are in the mutaqaddimin, the early ones. Remember Shaykh al-Tusi and above. Those books are books of mutaqaddimin, early ones. So if Shaykh al-Tusi, the book of Shaykh al-Tusi gives me an evaluation, so what should I consider? Should I consider a narration? And thus Shaykh al-Tusi is trusted, and he has linked all his narration through trustworthy narration. Or should I consider it an ijtihad? Because Shaykh al-Tusi, for example, he said Fulan is trusted, but he did not mention his method, how he concluded that this person is trusted. So when their kind of conclusion is not, the conclusion is mentioned and the methodology is not mentioned, there happens a doubt. So should I rely on Shaykh al-Tusi and consider it a narration, or no? Should I consider it ijtihad, his own intellectual work, and I need to do my own intellectual work? Because we said in narration, you can take the narration of trusted because it's a proof. But if it is ijtihad, if it's an intellectual work, as so many, like remember the ma'rifa al-waqi'iyya and zahiriyya, and then there was this ma'rifa ilmiyya or ijtihadiyya. So if there is this ma'rifa ilmiyya and ijtihadiyya, so what should I do? I mean, I need to do my own ilmi process. I need to do my own ijtihad, because I'm also mujtahid. But then if it's a narration, then I can rely on the words of narration. Even from the mutaakhirin, after Shaykh al-Tusi, if they say we narrate from Fulan, 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 and they were trustworthy, we take their narrations. But if they say this is our ijtihad, then I need to do my own ijtihad. So now what happens, because we said these rules of principles are applied on doubts. Now what happens if there was a doubt? I don't know. I don't know whether this was Shaykh al-Tusi's conclusion was narration or ijtihad. It was a riwayah or hadith, or ijtihad. Or I don't know, Al-Allam al-Hilli, or somebody from Sayyid al-Khoi, his testimony, is it a narration or is it an ijtihad? I don't know. He did not mention it, or he forgot to mention it, or somehow he did not enough data, so he did not present the methodology of his conclusion, for example. So what should we do? So this principle says, if the doubt was whether it is a narration or an ijtihad, from the mutaqaddimin, we will consider it narration, because their methodology was to narrate. Very rarely they used to do ijtihad, because the resources, the narrators were in their time. And if mutaakhirin like Sayyid al-Khoi, we don't know that is it a narrator, because Sayyid al-Khoi is also a narrator of hadith, or is it ijtihad? If he doesn't mention, so we will consider it ijtihad, and me as a mujtahid, I need to do my own work. So I hope this is understood, that in the doubt. So this we are going to also discuss the evaluation of the mutaqaddimin, the evaluation of the mutaakhirin. What about this dua and testimony and representation of Imam? If Imam says, Rahimallah Zurara, should I take this as a verification from Imam, as an authentication that Imam is praising him? That means he must be trustworthy. Or no, testimony. Imam says, Fulan thiqa, like Al-Amri wa ibnahu thiqatan. Imam al-Hasan al-Askari alayhi salam says, Amri and his son, the first and the second ambassador, they both are trusted. So whatever they say on my behalf. So the Imam narrates this. Imam says, testifies them for them. So is Imam's testimony hujjah, reliable, or representative of Imam? Imam made a wakil, so a representation in a region, okay? And that person narrates hadith. Should we or narrate a narration about someone else, testified someone else? Should we consider that an authentication or not from that wakil of the Imam? Or no, the wakil himself. Imam made a person wakil, and that wakil now he is narrating a hadith. Should I consider him trustworthy or not? So this we are going to discuss, because some of the wakala, like Ali ibn Hamza al-Bata'ini, he deviated. He was representative of Imam Musa ibn Ja'far al-Kadhim alayhi salam. He had lots of money, wealth. Imam had made him representative. So what happened? That after Imam Musa al-Kadhim's martyrdom, he did not accept imamat of Imam Rida alayhi salatu wasalam. Okay, so these were from the Waqifiyya. They abstained from continuing the imamat of Imam Rida alayhi salam. And he had a lot of wealth, and he used to narrate hadith. So should we take the hadith, his hadith or not? That's a question. So Imams making somebody a representative, is it an indication for that person being authentic or not? Okay. So same thing like praise of Imam, dua of Imam, representation of Imam alayhi salam. Is this indicative that that person is trustworthy? Shuyukhs of Najashi, we don't know. We find someone in one of the hadith pops up. We don't have any information about him. We only know that he was one of the teachers of Najashi. Sheikh means teacher. Like nowadays, people they call in the Hausa the teachers, they call them Sheikh. Okay, if it's a Hausa teacher, they call him Sheikh. If he's a non-Hausa teacher, you call him Maulana. These are the definitions which are presented. So Sheikh means Hausa teacher. He teaches Hausa education. So these are just titles people they have. Imam did not say call a Hausa teacher Sheikh. Neither he say Imam. Our Imam said they call a non-Hausa teacher Maulana Sahab or Maulana. These are two definitions. These people they have made an orf custom like this amama. The Prophet ﷺ used to wear white amama, you know, and the Bani Hashim said they used to wear green amama and white amama, white. In the time of Imam Rida alayhi salatu, Bani al-Abbas, they took black amama as a sign of Bani Hashim. So this is even the black amama is sunnat of Bani Abbas. But somehow Urf got it. So basically I'm wearing the amama of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But the Urf, if I wear black amama, I'll be done. I'll be grilled. So that's why it is, these are some a'raf. The Prophet did not say, Sayyid, my children, you wear black amama, white amama. These are all Urfi things, the titles and the Maulanas and Ayatullah and Hujjat al-Islam. We don't have these kind of things as a base of Sharia, a source of Sharia. We have plain, you see, even the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, many people, they used to come and say, Ya Muhammad, okay, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The closest people, they used to call him Ya Rasulullah, okay, but the Prophet did not, the people didn't, call him Rasulullah, address him, Ya Nabi Allah, don't say. So it is like, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was very like down to earth and open, and it doesn't matter to Prophet. You call him Rasulullah, you call him Nabiullah, you call him Ya Muhammad. So he was very modest. So this is the many scholars in our house, alhamdulillah, they have this. But some scholars, if you don't call them Ayatullah, they get offended. Or some Hujjat al-Islam or some Shiyukhs or Sadat. So basically, may Allah keep us away from these attachments to these kind of external things which might be going one side and the heart might be going on the side of shaitan. Astaghfiru billah, a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. So anyhow, let's come back to this. So shuyukhs of Najashi, that means teachers of Najashi. So Sheikh, you know, is a teacher. Sheikh also in Arabic language means old person. So again, this came. So basically those days, the teachers would be very elderly age. The more older, the more experience he has of knowledge. So people will try to go and get lessons from these older teachers. Unless if they find out young ones, they are smart and talented, like Allam al-Hilli, like Sheikh al-Ansari, and some of those young teachers, they will go and take the classes. Otherwise, the norm would be to go and to get lessons from elderly person who's Sheikh also. So Sheikh means elderly person. And in the Urf of Hausa, you will find majority of them, they will be white bearded. Nowadays, you find black bearded teachers of Hausa, but those days, majority will be white bearded, unless if some talented popped up out and teaches. So there is this kind of urfiyat. So the Sheikh means elderly person, elderly person. And in the Urf of Hausa is the Hausa teacher. So therefore, the shuyukhs of Najashi, we saw a hadith, there is a rawi, narrator. We don't know he's trustworthy or not. So we are doubting. See, principles are applied on doubt. So there's a principle. Any unknown narrator, he's found in his status, he's found in the Sheikh teachers of Najashi, just take it. Take it. Close your eyes and take it. Why? Because Najashi has this method. He would not take from non-trusted narrators, because he's from the Mutaqaddimun. His style was narrations. So his teachers were all trusted. So the pattern was that he would not go to somebody who's not trusted, non-reliable. Even if he'll take from him, he will not record it. He will record only if he takes from someone who's trustworthy. So if we find a hadith and we find a narrator and we don't know that narrator is trustworthy or not, and we find him one of the teachers of Najashi, so we will say, since he's the teacher of Najashi, we will take it. The link of a trusted narrator, for example, Sheikh al-Mufid. Sheikh al-Mufid or Ali ibn Ibrahim al-Qummi. So Sheikh al-Mufid has a hadith. He says that these are all trusted narrators. So, but we don't have any historical indication about some of them. Let's say we found in one of the hadith that narrator who exists in the link of Sheikh al-Mufid or Ali ibn Ibrahim al-Qummi. So should we consider that person in that hadith authentic, and we just consider that hadith sahih? Because all of them are known, except this person is unknown about his status, but he's found in the sanad, in the link of Sheikh al-Mufid in one of the hadith about moon sighting of the holy month of Ramadan, or in the Kamil al-Ziyarat sanad of Ali ibn Ibrahim al-Qummi. So should we take his hadith or not? So the scholars, they said that yes, Sheikh al-Mufid used to take from the reliable. So we are going to see the discussions on these principles. So these are all principles used when we have doubt, when we have doubtful situation, doubtful case, should we rely on this narrator or not? Then we apply these principles. So let's see, what do we have here? Oops. I need to just make this a bit. Yes. Okay, so evaluation of the ones who are non-imamis and are trusted. There is a debate. There's a debate in the opinion of these scholars regarding the evaluation of the trusted from non-imamis, such as the son Ibn Fudal, the father Ibn Fudal, and Ibn Uqdah. So Ibn Fudal, the father, Ibn Fudal, the son, Ibn Uqdah. The scholars followed these scholars followed the method of Ahl al-Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam and their followers in their evaluations in every aspect. But there are a few scholars who do not rely on their work. And there are many scholars who said that these three are proven to be trusted. So there is no harm in relying on their evaluation. Some said they're non-imamis. That means they're not just. Others, they said, no, you don't need just in narrations. You need trustworthy. You need to see the tongue is okay or not. He was trustworthy or not. Because the difference between just and trusted, we mentioned in Ilm al-Hadith, we also mentioned here. Just let me recap it. So just to remind you. What is the difference between just and trustworthy? Just, I don't have any experience with him. The people, they respect him. He's not wearing a tie. No, he's a respected person. Because in Arabic, in our days, they said, Rajul muhtaram, yani muhtaram, a respected person, he'll always wear tie. Labis karafatta. So it's not like wearing a tie. So he's a respected person. He's known apparently to be a good person, of good conduct, of good character. Apparently. Can he lie? There is a probability. Because we have not seen him lying. We have not much experience with him. So apparently he's a nice person, just person. But God knows better. He might be lying. So whenever we have just person, we require two witnesses, testimony. So in the rules of ahkam, you will see in normal cases, in general cases, two witnesses. Shuhud udul, shahidain adilain, two witnesses. Whenever there is a trustworthy, one person is enough. Why? Because trustworthy, you gave him the title of trustworthy because you lived with him. You know that he never ever lied to you. He may be alcoholic abuser. He may be doing something wrong. But when it comes to his word, he has never ever lied to you. You have lived with him. Not you. There are many people, they live with him and they say, we never see. He's not a nice person. He's not a just person. But he has never lied. So when it comes to trustworthy, because you have experience with them or because people have experience, then you don't need two just witnesses. Only one reliable person is enough. So some of the scholars, they say these are not just because they don't follow the school of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Okay? They don't follow the 12 Imams. So therefore, they are not just. So we cannot take their hadith. And we argued before that the main thing in the narration is the trustworthiness, because you need one person to verify, one trusted person. Because rarely you can find two people. So if one person, trustworthy person, is narrates, and you know he's a trustworthy person, you rely on him. And even if he's adil, one is enough, because it is not a testimony. It is a narration. When somebody says that Fulan is thiqa, and other person says, I heard Fulan who said Fulan is thiqa, I heard Fulan who said Fulan, I heard A who heard B, who heard C, said Fulan is thiqa, I had A who had B, who had C, who had D, who had E, who said Fulan is thiqa, Fulan is trustworthy. That means this is all narration. So one person is enough. Either it's a just person or trustworthy. Okay, it doesn't matter. One is enough because it's a narration. So when it comes to Abna Fudal and Ibn Uqda, so these people, they were scholars. They were great scholars, but they were not following 12 Imams. So for this reason, scholars, they had debate. Should we rely or should we not rely? So part of them, they said we can't rely because they are not just. The other part, they said, no, we can rely on them because they are trusted. And that is the difference between, or the discussion, and that is the difference, or the discussion is based on whether a narrator needs to be trustworthy only, trusted only, or being just is required. As-Sayyid al-Khoury. So now argument is presented. Now let's see answer of Sayyid al-Khoury. So these are brief things on the level of muqaddimat we have presented. Sayyid al-Khoury mentioned that it is enough that the narrator is trusted. Being just is not necessary, as long as the narration is trusted. He also endorsed the three non-Imami Rijalis. Okay, non-Imami Rijalis mentioned above, like Ibn Uqda, father Ibn Fudal, son Ibn Fudal. He endorsed them, saying that they were trusted and he relies upon them. So that was the method of Sayyid al-Khoury Quddisa Sirruh. Let's take another principle. The weak ones in the book of Du'afa. The weak ones in the book of Du'afa. Remember the issue of Kitab al-Ghadairi and the situation. I like to just make the title look like a title and not just a talk. So I'm the worst person in making PowerPoint presentations, so I apologize. Sheikh Maytham, may Allah bless him, he helps me, but this has not gone through Sheikh Maytham. So we have discussed that the relation of the book of Ibn Ghadairi. We said, Sayyid al-Khuy said it is not to Ibn Ghadairi. Who made that link? The Hillis. Okay, they were the first to create the link. So Ibn Tawus used it. But Allama and Ibn Dawood, their students, they related it. So that is the reason our scholars, because Allama al-Halli, and these are not simple scholars, these are our giants of the history. So like almost revelation kind of thing, like Sheikh al-Tusi. They were able to defeat Sheikh al-Tusi's historical awe. So, but otherwise, as I mentioned, somebody says against Sheikh al-Tusi, oh, Sheikh al-Tusi, who are you, Sheikh al-Tusi? Like nowadays, we have this awe of Sayyid al-Khu'i shading the Hawza. So people, they really have to work hard to become a'lam, more knowledgeable than Sayyid al-Khu'i, or at least equal to Sayyid al-Khu'i. That guy was giant. He has left his marks in everything, and it's difficult, very difficult to challenge him in every concept he had mentioned. Some of the concepts, yes, Sayyid Sistani might have rebutted him, but still, I mean, Sayyid al-Khui's legacy of 50 years of teaching Bahth Kharij, and Sayyid Sistani's Marja'iyas until now about 30 years old. So still he will need a lot to or who knows, maybe God knows better. We need the testimonies from Ahlul Khibra. They say, oh, Eid is proven. Now you can change your taqleed from Sayyid al-Khu'i to Sayyid Sistani entirely. So he left big marks there. So that's why, like Sheikh al-Tusi, the awe. So basically, we have discussed that Ibn al-Ghadairi was rejected by Sayyid al-Khu'i. It is not Ibn al-Ghadairi, sorry, Kitab al-Du'afa. Relation of Kitab al-Du'afa to Ibn al-Ghadairi was rejected by Sayyid al-Khu'i. And other great scholars as well, Agha Buzurg al-Tahrani also. But those who considered it, the book of al-Ghadairi, like the Hillis, said some of his opinions are narrations and some of his opinions are ijtihad. So, but if we doubt, let's say hypothetically, according to those scholars, Ibn al-Ghadairi, this is a question, focus with me. I want to see who was awake last week. Ibn al-Ghadairi has an opinion. We doubt it is a narration or it is an ijtihad. Let's say if it is proven that this book is to Ibn al-Ghadairi. We said Sayyid al-Khu'i says no, but for those, they found a narrator in the book of al-Du'afa. So we don't know. He did not mention that it is a narration or ijtihad. What will we consider? Let's see who wants to answer. You can chat your answer or you can say your answer. Let's see, a chat came in. You got a mail. Ijtihad. Who supports this and who opposes this? We have a debate now. So is it ijtihad or is it narration? I know the Sahri time must have been heavy. Fasting must have been heavy, or some of you are going to break the fast after a few minutes or a few hours, and we are going to break after like 8-9 hours. So who else wants to participate? Only one has given me a response. And he said, that person is saying it's ijtihad. So who agrees and who disagrees? So du'afa. Now you can guess, make a guess. If you don't want to make a wild guess, make a domestic guess. But guess. Last week we Last week we mentioned, okay, a clue question. Al-Ghadairi is from the early ones or from the late ones? This will solve the problem. We just took the rule a while ago. Al-Ghadairi, is it from the early ones or from the late ones? Are you sleeping? Only two people are awake. You can give wrong answer. We learn from our mistakes. Just make a guess. Wild guess, domestic guess. Okay, so when you say early ones, so early ones evaluation is ijtihad or is narration in normal cases? Narration. Okay, so that means if narration, you will have to take it. If ijtihad, you do your own ijtihad. So yes, Al-Ghadairi is from the early ones. Al-Ghadairi from the early ones. Okay, so it is considered a narration. It is considered a narration. So see how I applied the rule? How I applied the rule of early ones and late ones. So basically those who consider Al-Ghadairi, those who consider Al-Ghadairi, those who consider this book is of Al-Ghadairi, which says no, for them, if they find a testimony or an evaluation in the book of Al-Ghadairi, they doubt, they will consider it a narration, unless if Ghadairi says that it is my ijtihad. So Al-Ghadairi, so said, we said, but those who considered it, the book of Al-Ghadairi, said some of his opinions are narration, some are ijtihad. So when doubt, we don't know it's a narration or ijtihad, we will take it as narration because Al-Ghadairi was from the early one. That is if Al-Ghadairi is proven, okay, which is to Al-Hallis. But other majority of the Maraja, especially the contemporary ones, none of them, they say Al-Du'afa is for Al-Ghadairi. Okay, let's go to the next one. Now here I want to focus. The rest of the lesson is easy. I want you to focus with me. So if you are in your bedroom, on your beds watching this, please stand up and go on your desks and watch this, because I'm afraid only two answered. So that means either the sehri was so hefty biryani, or the chai was not drunk in the sehri time. So some issues must be there. As Brits, they call it issues. So some issues must be there. So now focus with me. Isalatul adala. Isala means principle. Okay? Isalatul adala. We said, whenever we don't know a person is good or bad, we'll consider it bad. We'll give it benefit of doubt. A person is innocent until proven to be guilty. Okay? Isalatul adala. So if I find a narrator in the link, and I don't know this narrator is trusted or not trusted. Okay? So I have two scenarios. Scenario number one, no one has mentioned about him in any way. In this case, he's unknown. And whenever there's unknown person, in Ilm al-Rijal, I can't give him benefit of doubt. I can't trust him if he's totally unknown. So this principle is not implemented on an unknown person, totally unknown. We don't know his status, we don't know who his name is there. But what is his biography? Sughra did not mention. So this Kubra will not be applied on it. The index, the biographies, Fahras, they did not mention him. Okay, so he's a totally unknown person. Fulan ibn Fulan. Muhammad Bhai, Kasam Bhai, somebody Bhai. Okay, we don't know. So in this case, this question every year I bring it in the quiz. Okay, because it's one of my favorite questions. Because people, they get confused. Oh, we will implement Isalatul Adala. Adala, whenever we doubt a person is just or not just, we will say he's just. No, it's not like that. It's a very specific Rejali principle of ulama al-Rijal. How? So let's say either a narrator, draw with me, clean your mind from the iftar and the biryani and those kind of things, and just focus on this spiritual iftar, intellectual iftar. So, so basically, we make our bifurcation or this kind of two branches. A narrator either is unknown entirely, it is there in the link. We will not apply on this person the principle of adalat. A person is just unless proven to be unjust. So this is one unknown. Then we have known person. He is known in the biography. Okay. So in this case, we have two sections as well. One, ulama Rijal mentioned him. Okay. And they said, that we don't know anything about him. That's one case. Anything about his status. In another case, they said that he is known to be a certain character. So now we have this bifurcation, A and B is further divided into C and D. Okay? So let's see. Somebody is hungry for biryani. Anyhow, so let's see. So when is this principle implemented? A narrator is considered just unless if proven not to be just, an unknown narrator. There is a ruling which says that every Muslim is just unless proven to be unjust through the evidences. This was mentioned by Sheikh al-Tusi. Okay? As mentioned previously, that there are two important components in order to evaluate a narrative. Sughra, I mean, who is he and how is he? Who is the narrator and how is the narrator? Is he just or not? So identity plus evaluation, authenticity. The identity of the narrator and his status. Based on this, the narrator can be divided into following. Remember that bifurcation which I drew in your mind, which was free from biryani and sambusa and kebab pakoras. Okay, this is what happens. A narrator whose identity is unknown, such as not reliable, and his word is not proof. So principle of adalat cannot be applied on him. An unknown person, Mr. X-man, okay, Mr. X, we don't know who is he. How can we apply the principle of narrator is being, a person is just until proven to be unjust, an unknown person? No, we cannot. Principle of adalat. So this is the bifurcation A which we had. A person's identity is unknown. Number two, the identity is known, another side. And he is known to be trusted or non-trusted. Okay? Ulamas, they have verified him. Either he's trusted or either is not. I don't need to implement the root principle, Isala. Why? These principles are implemented in the cases of doubts. I don't have a doubt here. Sheikh al-Tusi said trusted. Or Sheikh al-Tusi says not trusted, not reliable. Finish. I don't need to apply this rule. So in the case of A, unknown, who is he? We don't know. We can't apply the rule. Now we know who is he and how is he. We will not apply the rule here. Okay? So we will not apply the rule. Who is he? How is he? We know it. The ulamas, they have declared. And then the third case, or when we go to the bifurcation, The one whose identity is known, but his status is unknown. So basically this bifurcation, you can make it 3 bifurcations, okay? Because some books of Rejaal, they make it 2 and then they make further and further. So Dr. Abdul Hadi Al-Fadli has made it 1, unknown, we don't apply this rule. 1, known in every aspect, we don't apply this rule. So totally unknown, totally known, we don't apply. Third one, a narrator whose identity is known, but his status is not known. In this type, we have further 2 bifurcations, okay? A narrator who has been verified by the Rijalis that he is unknown. So the ulama of Rejaal has rubber stamped it, okay? Finished, that means they have done their work. He's unknown in his status. In this case, the narrator is rejected and his words are not reliable because the Rijalis gave a testimony. This person's status is unknown, okay? So we don't need to do further apply any rule because the experts have declared this person, we cannot find anything on it. He's unknown in his status. So this is the situation. So the only situation we can apply where 4th situation or B from the 3rd section, a narrator who is not declared by anyone, we mean by Rijalis. So as he was not titled by the Rijalis as unknown. Rijalis, they did not rubber stamp him. Unknown, no. He's open. So, and his name was mentioned in their books. So, who is he? We know him. Or it was mentioned, but without any description. Without, he's trusted, he's not trusted, he's unknown, nothing. So we have 3 types of declarations. Fulan is not trusted. Fulan is trusted. Fulan is unknown. So these 3 declarations, we don't apply this rule. When they don't declare anything, they say Fulan, Zura, not Ali ibn someone, Ali ibn Muhammad. He was known, but Rijalis, they did not say he's not trusted. They did not say he's trusted. They did not say he's unknown in his status. They did not talk about his status. Here, we will apply this rule, Isalatul Adala. I hope this is clear. Just a quick summary. So, the principle of Adala, when do we apply the principle of Adala, Isalatul Adala? We have 3 bifurcations, according to Dr. Abdul Hadi Al-Fadli. A narrator, unknown in his status, unknown, who is he, how is he, we don't know anything. The Rejali says we don't know, he's totally unknown. We don't apply this rule because he's unknown. We don't rely on that person. Number 2, he's known who is he. And the Rijalis, they have said he's trustworthy. Okay, then we don't need to apply this rule. Or they have declared him non-trustworthy. We don't need to apply. So this is the second part. The Rijalis have declared. The third part, the Rijalis, they have declared him as a narrator. He's available. But his status, the Rijalis, they have not said anything about it. So in this case, we apply the principle. So if Rijali has said he's unknown, we don't take. But Rijalis, they have not commented any comments on his status. Here we apply Isalat. So in one case, you apply principle of Adala from these 4 cases. Okay, so case number 1, the narrator is unknown, totally. You don't apply, he's unknown. I mean, we don't know. Number 2, the narrator is known, but the Rijalis, they have also declared him trusted or not trusted. Okay, number 3, which is A of number 3, that the Rijalis have said he is unknown in his status. We cannot find anything on him. They have declared it. So he is also rejected. We don't apply principle of Isalat al-Adala. The 4th one, which is the B of the 3rd one, that's the case where the Rijali has no comment on the status. They have mentioned in the book, he's a narrator, he's known narrator, but they have not said anything about it. So that's the person we will say is just unless proven to be unjust. So he's unknown in his status. This type of the narrator is considered to be a candidate for isalatul adala or principle of adala. And after implementing the principle upon him, his words will be reliable. So see, doubtful narrator, we applied principle. This is all. Ilm al-Rijal is all about these principles you apply in doubtful cases. So if you find a hadith, you open the Rejaal of Sayyid al-Khu'i, and you find Sayyid al-Khu'i mentions this in his historical biography, but he does not mention his status. Neither mentions the Rijalis have declared something. So here you will consider this person just and apply Isalatul Adala and consider the link okay. So yes, this principle is deduced by ijtihad. So there are some scholars who do not use it. They say it's ijtihad. Give us hadith of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a narration narrating this principle. So there is an intellectual conclusion work done to consider this as a principle. So therefore, some scholars, they say, no, we will not apply this rule, okay? So they will not use it as it is not proven to them that the use of this principle is an evaluation. And there are all others who use it because it is proven to them by their ijtihad. Let's see the giant, Sayyid al-Khu'i. He doesn't have any opinion here, okay? And Sayyid al-Khu'i uses in these cases, he uses ijtihad, but not necessarily isalatul ijtihad, isalatul adala. No, he has some other intellectual arguments he uses to either reject this person who's unknown or to accept it. So that means he does ijtihad. He may not be relying on this concept, he does his own ijtihad, because this concept is ijtihad by itself. So we said whenever there's ijtihad, Sayyid al-Khu'i does his own ijtihad. Okay, so evaluation of the mutaqaddimin. We have mentioned before that most of them are considered narrators and are not mujtahid. Therefore, their words are taken as trusted person's narration unless proven that a specific evaluation was based on ijtihad. We explained this previously. And then what about the mutaakhireen? So mutaakhireen, there are arguments here. There are the later ones. Remember, scholars after Sheikh al-Tusi, and the one not Sheikh al-Tusi, the ones who came after Sheikh al-Tusi. So most of these scholars are considered mujtahideen, okay, most of their work, except for Sayyid al-Khu'i. So Sayyid al-Khu'i divided the later Rijalis into two categories. So the majority of the Rijalis, they divided the ulama of Ilm al-Rijal, the ulama of Rijal into two historical groups. Sheikh al-Tusi and above, before Sheikh al-Tusi and before, they are considered narrators. So whenever you doubt, did they do ijtihad or narration, we will consider narration. After Sheikh al-Tusi, the ulamas, they consider them mujtahideen. So if they say we narrate, we take it as a narration. If they say this is ijtihad, we have to do our own ijtihad. So what if we doubt? If we doubt, we consider their evaluations ijtihad, the later ones. Sayyid al-Khu'i has a different opinion here. He divided the later Rijalis, like post Sheikh al-Tusi, after Sheikh al-Tusi, the ones whom he considered them narrators, because their style of evaluation was the style of the narrators, and they were very close to the early ones, mutaqaddimun. So he considers them narrators. Sayyid al-Khu'i, even after Sheikh al-Tusi, he considered quite significant number of scholars as narrators, even after Sayyid al-Khu'i. And this is his unique opinion. So he says, why? Because their methodology was narrations. Rarely they used to do ijtihad. Their style of evaluation was the style of narrators, and they were very close to the early ones, mutaqaddimun. So he considers them narrators, And there were 4 Rijalis among them who are Allama al-Hilli in his Khulasa, he uses the methodology of narrators, Ibn Dawood al-Hilli in his Rejaal, and the students of, these are the students of Ibn Tawus. So Allama and Ibn Dawood, the one who related the book of Ghadairi, book of Du'afa to Ghadairi. So these two, Sayyid al-Khu'i considers a narrator because their style is narrating it, and rarely they use ijtihad. But if there was a proof that a specific evaluation was their ijtihad, then it should not be taken as narration. You need to do your own ijtihad. The other mutaakhirun, their work is considered ijtihad unless proven to be narration, when we doubt. What about the testimony of Imam? We said, let's say if Imam testifies somebody, should we consider his testimony an evaluation? The praise of the Imam, the praise or defamation of Imam, infallible Imams alayhi salam, or infallible Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Fatimah al-Zahra alayhi salatu wasalam, is taken into consideration, but it is dealt like any hadith narrated by trusted narrator. And the narration should not be in the praise of the narrator himself, because such creates a logical circle, logical loop. Okay? So like for example, Zurara says, I heard Imam Sadiq alayhi salam say, Zurara is trustworthy. Okay, Zurara, how will we know that you are trustworthy? Imam said so. How will we know that Imam said? Because I am saying so. How will we know that you are trusted? Because Imam said so. How will we know that Imam said it? Because I am saying so. How will we know that you are trusted? Because Imam said so. So this loop needs to be broken. We can't rely on logical loops. You are self-praising yourself, Zurara. He did not do like that, but I'm just saying, for example. So basically, we need to break the loop. If a third person narrates, I heard the Imam says Zurara, like Hisham ibn al-Hakam says, I heard the Imam says Zurara is trustworthy. Okay? Like when the body of Zurara was washed, like the angels are washing the body of Zurara with the people. Like for example, these kind of things. So someone else is praising Zurara using the hadith of Imam alayhi salatu wasalam. That someone, if he's a trusted narrator and the whole link is formed of trusted narrators, we will consider Zurara trusted based on that testimony of Imam or praise of Imam. So it is dealt like any, unless if it is going to create a logical loop. Dua of Imam. Can we consider dua of Imam? If Imam says, Rahimallah Fulan, may Allah have his mercy upon Fulan, may Allah bless him, may Allah give him more children, may Allah. There have been some incidences where Rijalis have considered dua or blessings of Imam alayhi salam a testimony of praise for the narrator. The same is said about the curse of an Imam alayhi salam, which is a narration of defamation. So if the narration of dua or curse is narrated by a trusted narrator through all the links, the narrators, then it is a source of evaluation. So we can rely on that. Wakala. Remember the case of the guy who embezzled the money of Imam Musa al-Kadhim alayhi salam after death, and he did not follow Imam Musa al-Kadhim, he had made his own firqa. That. So wakil. So wakil of Sayyid Sistani, if somebody is representative of Ayatollah Sistani, is it a praise? So in the time of Sayyid al-Khu'i, we could not consider it a praise. Why? Because we used to see people, they are not even properly just people. They were given wakala of Sayyid al-Khu'i to collect khums. Okay? So what was the reason? Because in the time of Saddam, to take money to Iraq, it was very difficult. So certain diplomats, Shia diplomat, they had diplomatic passport. Because diplomatic passport, they have this diplomatic briefcase. They could go Iraq without any checking. So diplomatic, it's a diplomatic code. The diplomats are not checked totally. Okay, you can screen them for bombs or whatever, but you cannot open their cases. So they would take the money to Sayyid al-Khu'i, Quddisa Sirruh. Some of them, they were alcohol abusers, okay? And people say, how could Sayyid al-Khou'i make somebody wakil in collecting khums? Well, he's trustworthy. He takes the khums, gives it to Sayyid al-Khou'i. Sayyid al-Khou'i said, give the khums to fulan person, and he will bring the receipts of Sayyid al-Khou'i and give it back to the people. So these people, though they were not just people, but they were reliable, trustworthy in the case of money, okay? Not in the tongue. Money will go. They might be lying, but the money will reach Sayyid al-Khou'i, and Sayyid al-Khou'i will send the receipts back through this person. And they were rich people. They were filthy rich people. You see, they did not need money of Sayyid al-Khou'i. They had 1,000 to 10 times greater than the money which was going to Sayyid al-Khou'i. So that was a time that, so we could not consider wakil of Sayyid al-Khou'i at that time a just person that we can pray behind him namaz jamaat, unless if he was a wakil in religious responsibility verified by Sayyid al-Khou'i and praised by Sayyid al-Khou'i in his dedication. So these are the types of wikala given to people in the time of Sayyid al-Khou'i. So is the wikala, is the power of attorney given? So many scholars consider that if the infallible alayhi salatu wasalam gave a representation to a person, then it is considered a praise. But there is a difference of opinion. The scholars who considered the representation as a source of evaluation, they said that the infallibles alayhi wasalam can never give representation to a corrupted person. The others said that being a just person is not required in representation, as there are some representatives who were defamed. Sayyid al-Khou'i rejected this type of evaluation because Sayyid al-Khou'i gave his representation to corrupted people. So obviously we can understand that imams might have certain circumstances also. They had to also take get money from different parts of the land, and some of them they were working in the government of Harun al-Rashid and other government. Some of them they were just people, some of them they were not just, but they loved Imam alayhi salatu wasalam. I mean, they were alcohol abusers and something like that, for example. So Sayyid al-Khou'i rejected this type of evaluation because it is allowed to give representation to a non-just person, like he did. So being just representative of Imam alayhi salam does not mean that he's a trusted person. And then we have this shuyukhs of Najashi, teachers of Najashi. It was ruled out by many scholars that the teachers of Najashi, they are trusted. The ones whom Najashi took narrations, teachers of Najashi basically are trusted. He used to take narration, trusted people, because Najashi did not take from the weak narrators. Najashi, rahmatullah alayhi, died, did not take from weak narrators. His style and method was to only take from the trusted person. Sayyid al-Khou'i considered shuyukhs of Najashi trusted. Proper step. Put your thumb. And then we have the evaluation based on the link sanad. So we said there are two sanads. Basically, they argue upon sanad of Sheikh al-Mufid and sanad of Ali bin Ibrahim al-Qummi, Kamil al-Ziyarat. Okay? So example, if a narrator, let's say we have a narration, I explained this, once more I repeat quickly. Let's say we have a link of narration, okay? So we have, this is the Imam alayhi salam, and these are the narrators, and they end here. So someone in the middle, we don't have anything about him. We know who is he, but we don't know how is he. So this person, how is he? We find him, he is also in the link of the hadith of Sheikh al-Mufid, or in the hadith of Ali ibn Ibrahim al-Qummi in Kamil al-Ziyarat. So we say it is thiqah. But we don't have any other indication. Sheikh al-Mufid took it in this hadith. Sheikh al-Mufid said all these are reliable. Ali ibn Ibrahim al-Qummi said all these are reliable. In his Kamil al-Ziyarat, we take it. So being, this is a principle, unknown narrator being in the link of Sheikh al-Mufid or being in the link of Kamil al-Ziyarat is trusted person. Example, if a narrator is trusted and has a link between him and the infallibles, So does that mean that all the narrators in the link are trusted? This issue happened regarding several books, such as the Tafsir of Al-Qummi, Ali ibn Ibrahim Al-Qummi, which are the narrators of Tafsir, which are narrations of Imam Hassan Askari alayhi salatu wasalam, narrated by Ali ibn Ibrahim Al-Qummi. And the other book is the book of Kamil al-Ziyarat. Okay, it's famous book. So Kamil al-Ziyarat, it's of Ali ibn Qawlaway. So sorry, I got mixed up in Ali ibn Ibrahim al-Qummi, the tafsir of Imam Hassan Askari, and Ibn Qawlaway, Kamil al-Ziyarat. Ibn Qawlaway is also buried in Baghdad. When you visit Imam Musa al-Kadhim alayhi salatu wasalam, he is buried beside Sheikh al-Mufid. You must see a grave in the Kadhimin inside the Haram. So there's one is Ali ibn Qawlaway and one is Sheikh al-Mufid. They are side by side buried in the Kadhimin Haram, just behind the wall of Imam Musa al-Kadhim alayhi salam, inside the Haram. So Ali ibn Qawlaway is buried there. So but then there's a link of Sheikh al-Mufid, inshallah we'll come to that later on. So there are three things. Link of Ali ibn Ibrahim al-Qummi in Tafsir of Imam Hassan Askari, link of Kamil al-Ziyarat, Ibn Qawlaway, and then there's Sheikh al-Mufid in the moon sighting issue. So they both mentioned that they had narrated their narrations through trusted narrators. They both themselves are praised and trusted by the Rijalis. So what does that mean? Anywhere, if we find any hadith, okay, there's someone we don't know about his status, this one. But we find it in the link of Ibn Qawlaway in Kamil al-Ziyarat, or we find it in the link of Ali ibn Ibrahim al-Qummi in Tafsir al-Imam Hassan Askari. We say, khalas, this is trustworthy person, we take the hadith of that. So all the other narrators are proven. This one we had a problem. We applied this rule. This person is available in that Tafsir's link or in that Kamil al-Ziyarat's link. So this person is trusted. We rely on this hadith. You see how it works? To find out how is he, we are using some principles. And then we have this. Sayyid al-Khuy considered all what was narrated in these books linked to the infallibles alayhim through trusted narrators based on the testimony of the narrators of such books. And he said that they both were very well known and in them being trusted narrators. And if they say they relied on trusted narrators in the link until the infallible, then it has to be, as they said. But it was mentioned by one of the trusted students of Sayyid al-Khu'i that he changed his opinion regarding Kamil al-Ziyarat. Later, as he found out that some of the narrators were unknown in the link, and God knows better. So for me, my teacher, Sheikh Ali Dehni, he said that he heard from Sayyid al-Khu'i by himself. He said that Sayyid al-Khu'i changed his opinion about Kamil al-Ziyarat at the end. So that means we have to check every single hadith in Kamil al-Ziyarat and every single narrator. So we can't say that if that person, if he is in this link, that means Kamil al-Ziyarat is okay, that hadith is okay because that person is available in the link of Kamil al-Ziyarat. This rule is no more applicable in the last days of Sayyid al-Khu'i, according to Sayyid al-Khu'i. But if some other scholars they say, then becomes an ijtihadi issue for the mujtahids. They have to check out by themselves. So basically, Kamil al-Ziyarat is considered authentic book, but some of the narrations Sayyid al-Khu'i found out they were not reliable. And Ibn Qawlaway said that all my links are reliable. So it may be after the book was reprinted, rewritten several times, some hadith might have been infiltrated in the new prints. Okay, so that might be in the original print. Rarely you can find that. So the new prints are all print after print after print. There might be some additions in those things. So that is why, inshallah, we will come back after 5 minutes exactly. The next lesson is small lesson, so we will be done in maybe 20 minutes, inshallah. So 5 minutes, take a break. I'm sorry. I just realized it has been 1 hour, 15 minutes. We should have given you a break after 50 minutes. So inshallah, next session is a small one and we will be done fast. So after 5 minutes, I'm not going to tell you drink your chai unless you have an excuse not to fast. Just take a deep breath and fresh air and whatsoever, and come back after 5 minutes. So we start on after 5 minutes exactly. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين.